Okay, so in my last video, we spoke about how Intel is being pumped by the government, but the thing is, a many sectors in the market currently is being pumped by the government or institutions, and semiconductors is one of those. I think if you've been trading for a while, then you know that semiconductors is and has been one of the hottest sectors in the market for a long time. So, my name is David. I'm a participant in the United States Investing Championship, and today I'm going to go over seven of what I think are the best semiconductor stocks that we need to have on our watch list if we're looking to really chase super performance. Okay, so on the charts, I currently have SMH, the semiconductor ETF, and we are in, what is basically you can call a super trend. We've just been making higher highs and higher lows. So, needless to say, the sector is strong and it is trending both on the weekly chart, which I have here on the left, and on the daily chart, which I also have on the right. We can also pull up the S&P 500 because all trades work better in a strong market, and when the S&P 500 is strong, so too does the vast majority of the market, but only a small part of the market performs exceptionally well above the rest, and definitely semiconductors are one of those. So let's take a look at the first one on the list, because without them, not even Nvidia would be able to make their most advanced chips, and that is TSMC. So not only do these guys make Nvidia's most advanced chips, but other big players like Google and Apple and AMD and Broadcom, a lot of other big players rely on them to fab their semiconductors. And just like the semiconductor ETF, you could kind of see that this is in this sort of super trend here on the right and on the left. I guess we can call it a super trend times two, because we have the stock above both moving averages on the weekly and on the daily chart. So that is just a key sign of strength, key sector holding above the moving averages and breaking key levels. So just simply, I would say, let's look at the last key level breakout on TSM, and it was definitely this prior breakout level on this day, the January 2nd. If we check out the weekly, that was actually when it broke out into all-time highs, and then gapped up, pulled back, and provided another opportunity to get in. So not only was the gap up viable, but also this pullback with a nice inside day. And inside days are something that you're going to hear me mention a lot, because it usually identifies when all sellers are out of the market. And usually that just leaves the gust of wind of buyers after the sellers have all been drained. So it's a volatility contraction at the end of the day, and above moving averages on the daily and on the weekly. It's a beast in a hot sector, just like everything on the list today. And next up, I want to take a look at ALAB. So on the weekly, ALAB pulls back into this key level of support here on the weekly, and it has reclaimed its weekly moving averages. It's just so important when you have the weekly trend on your side. It just makes buying pullbacks and breakouts so much easier. And most of the time, or usually, that should mean that we end up with a multi-day breakout. So I guess the previous breakout we had on ALAB was on the January 12th, as it pulled back, a very nice pullback trend, as it pulled back into this very nice pullback setup into the moving averages. Look how tight it got here, and we got the inside day. What does an inside day tell us? It tells me that the sellers are out of the market. They are getting squeezed. It's kind of like saying we've given the sellers an opportunity to take this down yet another day, but instead of pushing it down, we instead got a very tight range. And the next day, we get a nice push coming out with the moving averages. And we also have the moving averages on the left too. It's a beautiful thing. Another great thing is ALAB is pulling back and still within this pullback range, so there is still a lot of time to get on board, but we have to keep on looking for these same pullback patterns with inside days and tight volatility before an entry. For example, we also had a really nice one on this day here where we had that inside day and we pushed up with a huge increase in volume, which was a really big tell, and also on a key level on the weekly chart. So that was pretty awesome. And key levels will often create these opportunities for momentum quite often. So next, I want to look at Intel. And Intel, as we know, is being heavily invested in by the government. So not only is Intel already in a really hot sector, but you also have the government investing and also getting a piece of the AI pie. So the trend has been pretty strong here, and I guess the previous key level break is right here. I guess I can just draw this here on the daily chart. Um, and it's visible on the weekly as well, and key levels that are visible on both the daily and the weekly chart definitely have more weight. And that's definitely what we get here. Do we have a super trend? Yep, we're above all three moving averages. That is the 10, that is the 20, and that is the 50-day moving average. And on the weekly, this is the 10, and this is the 20, 21 on both. So we are pushing with confluence from both time frames. Having the weekly on my side is something that is extremely underrated, and that's because it leads to multi-day breakouts. By the way, check out this inside day on this pullback here, where we get this inside day and we get a gap up finally above the moving averages. And what do we get? We get a pretty nice push as well. So those inside days are really big tells. Let's go ahead and look at the kingpin in all of this, Nvidia, and they've been pulling back on the weekly as well, and it's I guess it's more visible on the daily. They gapped up on Thursday, but they were met with the resistance, and even on Friday they also gapped up, and still it was met with a lot of selling pressure. So Nvidia is still under a bit of selling pressure, but hey, at least it's now above the moving averages, and it's probably going to tighten up for a little bit more. It's probably going to need a few more days, but we're above the moving averages on the weekly chart. But we can see some selling. We can see some selling pressure, so it simply needs more time. And who knows, maybe it will give us an inside day before it takes off. Next, I would like to take a look at AMD. And it had a really nice gap up on Thursday, but it didn't have any follow through. And on Friday, it kind of just gave this inside day here. But we'll see what it does next week. Let's see if it pushes and continues, or if it decides to pull back and grab the moving averages. There's a bit of volatility, on the weekly chart, because we can see these large candles, and usually when I enter a trade, I'm looking to enter at areas where price is very tight and illustrates a contraction in volatility. So let's see what happens. But it's very clear that we have clear support here on the 21-week moving averages, no doubt. And this is a key level as well. So that could be why you're seeing a little bit of shake and bake here. But with Nvidia pulling back, I can see this most likely hanging out at this key level for a little while before taking off. But hey, it could just gap up and take off before Nvidia even, sort of like Intel, which has pushed up quite a bit more. Okay, next let's check out RMBS, and they also had a gap up on Thursday. And it's kind of the same thing as AMD, kind of a pull in and a hold with a little bit of an inside day. So you can see the semiconductors, some of the semiconductors are really mimicking each other. And watching them very closely can give us insight into what the others will do, and we can kind of hop on that train. So, same thing with AMD, just looking at the price action and waiting for that contraction in volatility, and then getting in on the breakout. There's never any reason to chase, always letting the trade come to me and taking that breakout with an increase in volume. Okay, I've got one more on the list, and it is AVGO. And AVGO is actually pulling back quite a bit, and look how it is being currently supported on the 21 day and slightly below the 10, I should say 10 week, not 10 day, 21 week moving average and 10 week moving average. And on the daily chart, it's kind of just what we would definitely consider to be in a bit of a downtrend, and below all its moving averages just a bit. We are slightly above the 10, slightly above 21, and just below the 50. Who knows? We can probably get a gap up, and it can start get going on Monday. But we will need price action to tell us that. I wouldn't want to assume, because we could easily also get a continuation of this downtrend. But it looks at the moment we're making slightly higher highs. Either way, AVGO is a big player, and this is what I call a super trend. It's just incredible. So I would definitely keep this one on the watch list, and really watch the entire semiconductor group as a whole, because pretty much anything that is AI or AI adjacent is really just running. So it's important to keep an eye on these, but these seven here are some of the ones I really would not want to miss a pullback or a breakout in, especially when these pullbacks and these breakouts are initiated with a pickup in volume. That usually means that the ride is for real, and we're ready to go, especially when we have the weekly support and daily support on our side. Did I miss any top tier semiconductor names? Let me know in the comments below, and go ahead and like and also consider subscribing, and I will catch you in the next one.